I'm gonna call the meeting to order, Swanton Selectboard, July 1st, 2025 at 6 p.m. If everybody would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we will go through agenda review. Christina,
I have nothing to do.
Kathy,
I'm good, thank you.
Nicole,
All good, thanks.
good. Earl's good. And Nick,
I just got one question about library repairs and the weatherization test that they did. So that, I
Okay.
guess. maybe
Old
under-
Town Business.
Yeah.
Steve,
I just have, if time allows, just as maybe a brief discussion on the development rights in our community,
development, right?
the purchase of development rights.
Okay. So we'll put that under Newtown Business.
Anywhere, that's fine.
Brian,
I just have a brief executive session needed to discuss legal insurance/insurance claim issue. It shouldn't take us a few minutes.
okay. I don't have anything additional. Okay. Minutes, regular select board meeting of 17 June 2025. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next is public comment, and that is for anything that is not on the agenda tonight.
I'm here for public comment.
Okay?
Name's Mike Barrett.
Okay, floor is yours.
All right, so I'm here to comment on the final draft Swanton bylaws.
We're gonna have a public hearing on that.
Right, is this not it?
No, not yet.
Oh.
This is public comment for anything that is not on the agenda. The public hearing will be right after law enforcement and the health officer. Just a few.
Today,
It is today.
okay.
Yep.
And here.
So we'll catch you then.
All right.
Anybody else under public comment? Do we have anybody on board?
No.
Okay. Moving on to law enforcement. Chief. Welcome.
Thank you.
How's the chief doing?
I'm all right. I've been battling something for a while now.
No, no.
It's not, the doctor says I'm not really sick, so I don't know what it is.
So you feel better? It tells you you're not sick, you feel better?
Well, I still have something going on, occasional cough and a little bit of a sore throat, but since I tested with nothing, so who knows? I mean, he thinks maybe allergies, which I've never had before in my life, but maybe it's just a symptom of old age.
Always
so.
get 'em.
So it's certainly possible. But in any case, for the town in the month of June, you'll see there were 91 incidents. The top 10 incidents types, there were 21 traffic stops, 12 agency assists, 10 direct controls, 6 suspicious, 4 crashes, 4 alarms, 3 motor vehicle complaints, 3 trespass, 2 medical emergencies, and 2 citizen assists. Out of those 21 traffic stops, 5 tickets and 20 warnings were issued, and there were 10 arrests of 10 individuals with 12 charges. I don't see there was an arrest associated with traffic stop, but I don't see that documented here. I guess down at the bottom, 6 associated with traffic out of those arrests. And then in the month, there were also 12.25 additional service hours provided the town outside of regular contract hours. We have 2 applicants who recently stopped by. One just submitted the paperwork. He had expressed to me that he was interested in part-time. He's got a background in as an EMT, so he seems like he would be a good candidate. if we could get him to come on full-time in particular. And then another one who recently completed years in the Marine Corps and has also expressed interest in law enforcement. So hopefully he comes back and submits his paperwork to apply. We've also recently replaced our repeater antenna, which has made a huge difference. The connection was pretty corroded and we went up almost 40 feet higher, which has helped us out with dead spots, particularly in the town when we didn't have good radio coverage. It seems like it's made a world of difference for us, which is great. So those are a couple of things that we've had. And then our part-time officer that we've been onboarding for a while now, she's doing very well in field training, is my understanding.
Awesome. Good. Where's your antenna located?
It's up by the Oakley Reservoir.
Up there, okay. Yep. Donaldson Road up there, by.
What's a DLT?
A DLC,
DLT, it says driving on roadway lane for
lane
traffic.
for travel, so basically they weren't maintaining their lane.
Oh, okay, alright. And I just had one other question, I'll have to check off. Excessive speed, you had an arrest charge, is there a limit?
I'm not sure, so I would have to look at that specific incident number to see, well, there's two, the excessive, the speed of SL3 you're
Yep.
talking about?
Yep.
There on the top there, the second one
Yeah.
down. There is, you can actually arrest people for excessive speed, but it may be that they just issued the ticket for speed and it may have been something like their license was suspended and so they were arrested for a criminal suspension of their license. But I would have to look at that incident to know for sure, what the reason was for the arrest.
Okay. Well, you've been busy.
We definitely have, and I mean, there's certainly, again, since I think I addressed this last time, since the weather has gotten better, we've been extremely busy, and a lot of these cases are pretty complex. You'll see one of the additional services was a simple assault that came in to us outside of contract hours, where, again, it takes a lot of follow-up on these incidents. To put together a case, regarding things like this, so it's certainly time consuming
Yeah.
and labor intensive.
How's the illicit drug activity in the region increasing, decreasing?
It has, it's definitely on the uptick, so we're working several different areas right now, but again, these individuals there are certainly some locals involved in assisting in the distribution of drugs, and so we're aware of who they are, and it's just a matter of putting together these cases, as well as the individuals from out of state who will bounce from location to location as they distribute narcotics. So it's certainly picked back up to some degree.
And I know within Swanton, that's the area we obviously cover, but it seems like they can move around pretty easily in other parts of Franklin County with very little coverage.
Absolutely.
And then come here and do their business and then just head back to the other town where there's no police coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on a case for a while now. I think I may have talked about this. It initially came in as what technically is kidnapping, but now it seems like it's morphed into more of a fraud. But I've had to, allegedly it was in the town initially, but it's hard to tell exactly where this occurred because I don't have a hard location yet, but it's definitely a fraud. And the victim was actually, he's located in Randolph, but again, he thought kind of the incident was occurring here in Swanton, but it's been a lot of effort on my part as far as subpoenas, trying to figure out exactly who these guys are through information that I've accumulated. But it's an example of one of those guys who was on our radar for drug distribution for many years. We were just never able to put a case on him, and now he's involved in this, as far as I can tell. So I'm looking to most likely submit a request for an arrest warrant for him related to the fraud.
Okay.
Good. Good job.
I'm good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, chief.
Thank you.
Good night.
You too.
Looks good,
All right, Swanton Health Officer, I thought, there she is.
She's here. I don't know if you have any questions, but
How's Susie doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Everybody got her report?
Yes, it's on page 5 of our packet.
And I just submitted the affidavit to Kathy. For Betty. It's like the last thing.
So I know we ordered the material, or we've got the material, it's done, it's closed up,
Yeah.
trash gone,
Yeah, I was talking to the guys from Public Works today and I said that they.
Looks a lot better.
good, cause then, yeah,
10 tons,
I'm done
that's what they said,
yesterday.
wow,
Yeah.
because it was all wet. Contributed to
True.
that.
yeah.
The trailer gone too,
Yep.
Yes,
Everything.
everything. Yeah.
now
But I
they're,
understand they didn't do the inside, they
No, they
just
did not
boarded
do
it
the
up,
inside.
so that's an additional. I don't know if you guys have seen the video. I sent video.
Yeah,
have the video.
I got
I'll
it.
send
Of the
to you.
inside?
The
I don't think I want to.
Well, you've been inside that house,
I have.
is it salvageable?
No.
No,
I
so
would-
might as well leave it in and tear it down altogether.
That's what I would do.
Makes
As
most
Chief,
sense,
as
yeah.
Chief said, earlier to me, we'd take, Beulah and just,
Certainly appreciate all the hard work that was done, and this could have
definitely.
gone on for several more months, and, from Betty to you, to the chief and so on, people really stepped up, Christina and Brian, et cetera, so,
But the neighbors are quite appreciative too.
I think so.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been a while, and like, and the thing is, you know, it's just that what the town health officer can do is kind of limited, so if we were able to, I know we had discussed being able to, have a, what did we wanna call that?
Ordinance.
An ordinance, yeah, where we could go in and have a little bit more teeth behind it to go in and say, yeah, this place is not inhabitable, and be able to kind of almost condemn a place would be useful.
Yeah, and we need to follow up and
Yeah.
continue that, because this is not the last one that's gonna
No,
happen.
that's not.
And we
that's
need to
not.
get the teeth and make it so we
Yeah.
have the ability to do
Yeah.
that, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Is that-
and you know,
Property.
I told Brian I'd be happy to become the enforcement officer as well, so to work those two in tandem, health officer, enforcement officer, with no raise needed, just keep with the same fee that you guys, or the stipend that you guys give me on.
Do we have to take action, Susie, to have you become the enforcement officer?
Yes, and what would be best is if you guys enacted an ordinance, because the village would fall under that ordinance. So it would be one ordinance that would cover
Right.
everything.
It'd be like the animal control officer.
Yeah,
The
like-
rag, the dog, and anyway, so we gotta follow through it, I know we got
So,
examples.
We do have examples, and I'd like to get together with you
Yeah, absolutely.
and maybe Bill and maybe the chief.
Okay,
We'll throw in maybe the fire chief or
Yeah.
assistant chief.
Yeah.
and Get this.
get the ball rolling.
Yeah, the sooner we enact it, and the sooner we can make something, we got some teeth, anyway.
All right.
How about questions regarding the report?
One comment before we move on. Would it be, if we're gonna adopt an ordinance for that, do we wanna just put that ordinance in, so if we ever do a sales tax thing, or do we have to have voter approval first?
Yeah, you need voter approval first for that.
But you have to have a charter, but that's different than an ordinance.
They may have changed the law again, so I'll talk a little bit about that
Okay.
a little later, but.
All right.
Yeah, that's the same thing that we gotta take care of.
Okay, yeah.
How's, I mean, overall, it seems like the position's working out very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I have no complaints. I have a few, people who are trying to, a frequent flyer that's trying to, now camouflage what they're doing. So I'm going to be writing a certified letter to the landlord to do an inspection with them. Just because I'm still, not official complaints, but hearing from neighbors that they're a problem. They've been a problem right along. think most of you might know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna get the landlord involved and try to get, do an inspection of the garage, particularly because that's where the trash was moved to. So I need to, but it's because it's in the property, I need permission to go in. I mean, I could get a search warrant, but if I could just get permission from the landlord, it's
That
much
would be the
easier.
first step to go through anyway, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very much, for all the effort since you've, stepped up to the position.
you have a question?
One quick question.
Sure.
Most of your work is centered around the village, correct? Have you any?
Oh, no,
any
I've had some out of the town.
You had some on the town?
Lord Road, right just on the other side of North River where the town begins. There's a person who frequently has trash on their back porch. So it's not just the village, but I think the village tends to be more of it because it's
Yeah.
more traveled and more of like, oh, you know, I drive by this house 5 times a day and
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Maybe more rental properties.
Most of them are, sir, yeah.
Okay.
It's harder to hide it in the village.
It is harder to
Yeah.
hide it in the village.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I was just curious.
yeah, no, I've had a few out in the town, but the majority it has been in the village, yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Susie.
Thanks.
All right, now we're gonna open the public hearing on the proposed amendments to the Swanton Land Use and Development Regulations and the Swanton zoning map. After the public hearing, after we take the public comment, and then we will vote on the adoption of the amendment. Can I get a copy, please? I see 3 of them over there.
Me too, please.
These
I
are,
thought you guys would all bring in.
I just looking
Are
for
the
one.
amendments, what we talked about at the last hearing? Okay. And they're reflected in here.
Okay, all right, so I think first we would let the chair of the planning speak, Ross.
I mean, I guess we're here to just say that the changes, Corey made the changes, and I think maybe a little bit, not more, but found some more critiques of things that kind of slipped through that didn't match. You know, we're in one place, but didn't match another place type of thing. We did another review along with the stuff you guys asked for. I will say I got a call from the village today, regarding the electric building project. What? Nothing. Oh, and some concerns, surrounding that new project. After talking to Corey, part of the reason the new project, or that there were no changes to that district, was because that district was removed. And we added it back in upon their request, so we didn't do a review of the TSA district. Did I say that properly, Corey?
Well, I would just say when we have the joint hearing this past winter, they asked us to put that district back in because they have that project planned as is. So we just put it back in verbatim without adjusting it. Because we originally were gonna allow housing in there. The planning commission's original thought was that that district wasn't needed, and that we would use that district to allow housing. The village told us at that joint meeting that they needed that special district because if housing was allowed in that district, it would be higher, more stringent, more expensive brownfield requirements. So that's why we left it as is the TSA.
So that's why the setbacks didn't get changed.
Right, and so I've had conversation with our zoning office, and we think we've got a way to move ahead right now.
Okay.
But one thing would ask is you're looking at, you said you were gonna look through and adjust things, over the next few months, is take a look at those setbacks, because we've done away with that conditional use 30%.
Yep.
Then we should adjust those accordingly, like you would have done in the other areas, if we're all good with that.
That we would have done, like I said, if we hadn't, at the beginning of the project, literally when we took and remapped all the districts, that was one of the ones we said, oh, we're gonna add it to what neighborhood light commercial, or commercial light, whatever. And so when we pulled it out, they never got a full review, but then it got put back in towards the end. And so you all know, kind of the game plan is September to dive back in. Regional, I've had a good conversation with Greta from Regional. Greta's gonna spend some time this summer tearing through those, mainly around one or two specific projects we know that are out there that are in talks about potentially happening, and see how those kind of fit to our current laws. And our plan is to make some tweaks, I would say by the first of the year, come back to you guys with some tweaks. I think this copy includes the update to the fee schedule, is that correct or no? That is in the packet to add, or has been was added before the warning went out, so it's live. Correct?
It is not, no, she's still using the fees. Right.
Until after tonight.
Until the select board approves this and says when they want to go
Okay.
back. Right.
So that was another thing we were talking about, either pushing out or bringing in sooner rather than later with the fee schedule. And now that Amy's back in full force, that's something we had talked about, but we're waiting till we could continue a conversation with her. I think would be the only other real thing that's hanging out with this currently. But any changes, any kind of critiques or little tidbits, I think are minor tweaks. And Corey, am I right in saying that those changes are easier now because of some new legislation, or did that not pass?
It did, so anytime, so like this time we had to do the full rewrite and go through this process to update a lot of what the state's done the last 3 years. Going forward, to make any changes that the state requires, like the whole 4-unit thing, yada, 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 like can fast track right to you and doesn't need the public hearing in 3 steps, because quite frankly, there's nothing you can do to stop it. Like the state says you have to do it, so the state's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't make you go through 3 meetings to adopt what you're forced to adopt.
Right.
It's that part.
But our changes wouldn't be that.
No, we've done more than that.
We would still be.
My guess is the next few years you guys will have to make a lot of adjustments, just with like the Act 250 mapping, and to position your community, how that's all gonna play out too. Regional Plan put out their draft map a few weeks ago. Things I'd be concerned about if I was from this community, just, from here to the Highgate Airport is not, none of that's considered anything that can get exempted from Act 250. That's probably your growth. I would let the village build their area and probably look at that TSA district again, because you probably want housing in that district at some point. But you can do that after they build their building, and then they no longer have that same brownfield piece. So I think there are things to kind of keep tweaking that might be beneficial to the community.
Okay.
So yeah, we jumped around. You got any questions? That conversation was.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll let the public speak, and then board members can speak on anything that's being commented on, and then what they have or for questions, if that works for everybody.
Okay, so I got 4 comments. If you want to go with me. My first comment has to do with the, should I speak up louder?
I can hear you here.
My first comment has to do with the June 3rd draft minutes, to the public hearing section 4, page 4. And if you look at that document, at the top of the page 4, you'll see a bullet point entitled Review Conditional Uses and Rule for West Swanton. And then under that, you have agreed to add boat sales, storage and repair, mixed use, and neighborhood stores. Just to be sure, does that mean that 2 rural districts we're gonna add mixed use, is that correct? Is that what that's saying?
Did you decide not to do that?
I don't believe so. I think it was the boat storage was the one we talked about that did end up getting added, right, Corey?
That's what I saw, that did get added.
And that was, in the comment to that was, in my personal opinion, boat storage is not much different than a contractor's yard, which is allowed in those districts, or storage facility.
It was to align that shoreland area out on Hog Island rural.
Correct.
And so we made that alignment happen.
And that use was available out there prior, because it
Correct.
was all shoreland.
Correct.
So it was available, it was,
So this broadens out to all the rural part of this community.
oh, okay, correct, because it's under the, yes.
The south side was not all shoreline, but the north side.
Right, but now if you have an R1 up on French Hill,
Correct.
you could have boat storage. So, yes, unless it was, we didn't caveat it, just, okay.
Okay, so it was not added.
Boat storage
Not
was.
boat storage, mixed use. Mixed use was not added.
Oh, what page would it be on in here?
It's not in the draft, but it was in the minutes that you
Oh,
agreed
wow.
to add. So
If
it's
it's
not
not-
in the draft, it's not there.
If it's not here, then it won't be in here.
Okay,
So, right,
I'm not gonna-
storage was the biggest one that.
Yeah.
okay, no, I'm fine. I have nothing, no question about boat storage, anything else. I was just trying to get to the topic. Okay. So, second, comment was, the section 310 performance standards, that'd be page 316. This has to do with the applicability. Originally, the applicability was to all uses in all districts. And that's been altered to applicability only to uses that would require site plan. So my query here is why should certain uses be exempt from performance standards? Like something like a swimming pool looks like it would not require a site plan according to my reading. But say my neighbor is chlorinating his pool and I'm getting this toxic plume of chlorine gas coming in my window, shouldn't I have some recourse for that, to correct that? So another example would be a wood burning stove. If he's emitting his wood burning stove at ground level and coughing in my house, why? Because that's not subject to site plan review, would that be exempt from the performance standards? Doesn't make sense to me. I'm thinking that text should go back to what it was, which all uses should be subject to performance standards.
I don't remember the catalyst to this, but I think it had to do with kind of like the right to farm conversation. And if you hit all uses, like the state of Vermont just passed a new right to farm law. Most things that we have require a site plan. You know what I mean?
But not, those tough examples, might get over.
I'm just trying to give the board color on where we got.
Right, I mean,
that conversation.
so take your example of the wood burning
Yeah.
furnace. We have other avenues, right, for you to, the Department of Health?
Health officer. Perhaps, but it was already covered, in these performance standards.
I mean, usually because you have to perform, but performance is on your permit and that's what the site plan is. It's like you have to meet the standards which you said you perform to. And that's in the site plan.
Are you referring to agricultural on farm businesses?
It wouldn't matter anyway, because you get to, there are other, to your point, if a wood stove's allowed, wood stove's allowed. If the wind blows and it goes into his, that's an allowed use to have a wood stove. There's no performance to meet. It's a permitted use. It's the conditional use which requires a site plan, which if I was putting in a new wood burning electrical generator, I would have to meet certain standards, not burn between these 3 hours or not do this, like some negotiations with the neighbors. That's your performance piece. But a permitted use is, there's no performance to meet on a permitted use. You're looking at a new, what I think you're trying to get to an argument is, my neighbor starts a car and lets it idle, I don't like it, should I be able to go after them? Well, no, maybe, but it wouldn't be within the bylaws, it would have to be some other place.
But you said farm uses, for example.
That's where I think our moving this was, but I think why you see this generally in other communities this way is when you look at it within its standard, there's no performance standard to meet in a permitted use. It's permanent. It's something you guys allow, it's an allowed use.
Wouldn't we argue on that? Because permitted use might be a electrical generation station. And then one of it, what's that?
would probably be a conditional use, because it would have to come to the DRB, you'd want DRB approval.
We as a board wouldn't
But
put that as a permitted use, probably knowing that it could disrupt.
Well, wonder if somebody wants to put a wood stove in their house, they don't have to get a permit for that.
Yeah, I just use that as an example. I wouldn't have any such problems with my neighbors, but I'm just saying that, but as he brought up, farming applications, again, does it matter if the toxic fume comes from the wood stove or the chlorine or the farming application? Shouldn't I have some kind of recourse to address it, actually prevent it in the first place through the permit process? So it just seems to me that limiting it, to only those uses that require site plan review leaves a lot of possible considerations that it might fall through the cracks without a problem.
Yeah, the swimming pool example, I don't really see that as an issue.
No, I don't either, just.
So
For instance.
I'm looking through the vast majority of permitted uses, and it's single-family homes, it's light.
Cottage industries.
Yeah, most everything needs a conditional use that
would trigger someone having to answer the questions if someone thought that conditional
Yeah,
use was would create
this is-
fumes,
in
painting.
your transitional commercial district, which is outside of industrial, but that'd be industrial district, probably the worst thing here you're looking at is a restaurant.
What about the on-farm businesses?
That's state law. That you're starting to get into state law, and with this new, I don't fully understand this new right to farm law, but basically
It doesn't forbid performance standards.
My understanding with the right to farm law is that it's basically if the farm was there before you were, you have no rights to the land. Because you,
in a nutshell.
you went there knowing what was there.
I'm talking about not farming operations, but the on-farm businesses.
I think it's the same,
Adjacent.
it's the same thing. If the business was there before
Well,
the
then what if
house,
a new business comes up, it's not gonna meet
Then
farm
you-
standards?
because when the business, because on-farm business still have to be permitted. It's not the same as the farm.
Well, actually, there's a potential it doesn't have to go through a site plan review, therefore it would fall through the cracks. And if it were emitting toxic fumes or something, again, you wanna prevent that before it ever happened up front. So,
Okay, I guess you made,
Yeah,
that's your second comment, and the board members, if you see it important enough to change, then we can address that tonight, or we can recommend at the next review that be brought up again and see whether planning wants to take it as an action item.
I'd suggest that, I think you were gonna do some work over the summer and maybe starting September.
We're gonna try and take the summer off. We've been 2 meetings a month minimum for the last, 18 months? So I think we're gonna start up again in September.
I think these comments are valid. Perhaps they can be acted on, but maybe that's something you guys can add to your list for discussion at another time. I don't know how that would fit.
These, like we've said, I think I've been fairly clear, is I see this as a living document. This is not a 100% complete document that.
understood.
All right, we'll let Mike, he's got a couple more, right? That was,
Yes, the next comment has to do with section 6.2, paragraph A2. That would be on page 6-1. Previously, that paragraph A2 stated that conditional use review requires compliance with standards addressing impacts on adjacent properties, neighborhood, etc. Now it says it may require this. And it sounds like it's optional now. Well, from my point of view, that kind of undermines the whole purpose of the permitting process, which to make sure a particular use up front, abides by the bylaws and doesn't impact the neighbor in the neighborhood. And that's been the word may has been inserted. I think that word should be retracted because that is the purpose of permitting process.
But if it's permitted,
Yeah, I think where we got into this more in housing is how do you define attractive?
No, this is the process of permitting. This is in the
Yes,
process.
and they may require a project to be attractive, but who defines attractive? And that's where it doesn't get to a shall.
No, this
because
is
once it's shall, shall or may are two different things. Where we kept getting caught up in is like basically with housing, the state's outlawed. You know, so you're looking at housing, you can't use character of the neighborhood anymore as a piece. And so we got into the argument of who defines character. So what we did without throwing it all out is we still give the DRB the power to require it. We don't require them to require that.
Right.
And so that gives them the discretion, depending on the project, to make that change. I mean, it's the classic Rhino getting Montpelier, the shall versus may. 'Cause if it's, they shall do this, every project has to be attractive. Well, is Dollar General attractive? Is this attractive? Like, we start to get into this, what does that mean? You don't have a design review board, like, very broad. May allows them to be like, we want, you know, it gives them flexibility to enforce this.
Yeah, the paragraph you're referring to comes before the one I'm referring to. The one I'm talking about has to do with conditional use review.
Yeah.
And that should, it used to be require that you consider the impact on the neighborhood. Now,
you
it's
can't with housing anymore.
discretionary. Oh, okay, with housing.
Yeah, you can't tell me I can't have housing because you don't want me to have an apartment building next to your house.
No, I'm not telling you could or can't, but the impact should be considered, is what it's saying.
And I think you have that option to have that impact considered by going to the Development Review Board. It's not saying they won't review it.
Okay.
I think what this is saying, the Development Review Board may take it to a different level. It's not saying the adjacent landowner can't come in and say, and have an opinion on what they think the impacts and those things are. That's the way I read that.
And the board has the authority to make a decision based on this rule. They're not required to. So
Right.
they hear you out and agree with you.
And yeah, I mean, that's typical Development Board review. They're gonna take input and comment and then make a decision where they go with it. But it's not saying you can't go into that Development Review Board and say, I got some real issues with what's going on over there. And
Okay.
these need to be addressed, and then the Development Review Board, yeah, and then it's environmental court after that.
All right, one more.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's good.
Section 5.3D, accessory on-farm businesses, page 5-3. Paragraph D states that AOSB may be subject to site plan review. Again, an AFOB is, just another commercial operation. It's not farming, it's a operation in addition to that. I mean, given that site plan review already has considerable built-in flexibility in deciding how simple or complex the review process has to be, I suggest that this word may be changed to the word shall. That,
Sorry, where is it?
the AFOB shall be subject to site plan review.
business in the middle of the street?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've not seen the language he's referring to.
Anyway, that would put any commercial operations on farms, just as, but not farming operations, I'm not farming. Some additional on-site farming, commercial operations on the same footing as any other commercial operation.
Can you help me, where are you, 5.3?
Page 5.3, yes.
Where is it? Section what?
Section 5.3D, page 5-3.
Okay, so D, review permit, activities of an accessory on-farm business that are not exempt may be subject to site plan review.
Pursuant to 24 VSA.
So I mean, that, I'm wondering what that law says, because that itself might say it may or may not.
It does say may, but I think that the word may pertains to the planning commission may include it. I mean, the whole of the bylaws is riddled with the word, the town may, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I read this though, may be subject pursuant to, so I would have to see what the law says to tell me whether I could or couldn't, is the way I read that.
Fair enough, but the problem with this may is nothing triggers, if something's, if on-farm business is going into effect, nothing triggers an adjacent neighbor being notified. If this remains may as opposed to shall, then the site plan review says the neighbor has to be notified. But if if it's just for whatever reasons not done, then the neighbor's not gonna have any idea.
That's why I would have to read 24 VSA 4416 to see what authority that gives the DRB or the zoning office to make that notification, because it's saying it may be subject according to that law, but I don't know that law.
So 4416 is just the town's authority to require a site plan review. So then from there, you kick it back up into each zoning district, and does that particular use require conditional use or not? Means we may, if he says it shall require that means then even if you want to permit an on-farm business, it would require a site plan review. This is just your conditional uses would require that site plan review. Any permitted use that you want to make a permitted use in the future doesn't need that site plan review.
This AFOB is not under either of those. It's not under conditional use, it's not under permitted use. It's a separate designation, a new definition. Again, if
Yeah, so accessory on-farm business that are not exempted under 4413, 24 VSA 4413, so it'd be the list of any of those types of businesses not exempted.
correct, so if it is not exempted,
By state law,
then it may be subject as opposed to shall be subject to. But
depending
again,
on its use.
the problem is, this gets dropped without any notification or anything. And so you say, you know, the other issues, I could come in, talk to the DRB, this will never be seen. It will just go unseen. Because it's only the site plan review that triggers the notification requirements, et cetera. Otherwise, it just could get dropped through.
So my question is, if you're talking about on-farm businesses that are not the actual business of the farm,
Right.
they're gonna require some sort of a structure which would trigger a site plan review.
But,
Because if you're talking about on-farm business that's not farming, or that is farming, it wouldn't necessarily have a structure.
well,
So
didn't
that
they
would go
change
through.
the state law concerning that as far as if you wanted to do something on your farm, you don't have to go through all this big permanent process and
You
all.
still have to get permitted, but you don't have to pay for the permit, the fees are different.
The on-farm business is not listed anywhere else. It's listed in section 5.3, I believe it is.
Right.
Probably has to be
That's
listed
it.
that way.
It doesn't show up anywhere else, so.
Because it's allowed to be in any district if there's a farm there, right,
Right.
Corey?
Yeah, so for example,
So,
4413.
I mean, he's saying that it would trigger permit review and all that, it will not.
It would if it's a structure though, and if you build any structure,
Actually, no, sir, that's not correct.
any
This law-
structure requires a permit.
Yeah, but
No,
it doesn't,
not
but
the
it-
farming. not the
Yes,
farming.
I have an on-farm business and I had to come and get a permit. Any structure over 100 square feet requires
but we can't regulate that. Is what, you gotta get a permit, but it's not.
No.
Yes, but
Town can't
by getting the permit, that would, you have to have a sketch plan that shows the layout of the building.
Yeah.
You say what it's for to make sure that it meets the standard, because we had the same discussion with the lady on 207 about the wedding.
Flowers.
Yep.
Flowers and wedding venue.
Yeah.
About being able to call a wedding barn an ag business, which
That's where we came in
the
with,
state is also gonna define what is and what, we don't define what is agriculture. The state does that.
Again, this is not agriculture. This is a commercial operation on an agricultural property.
But isn't it related to the agriculture? The way storage, prep, process, and sale of qualifying product, provided qualifying products are produced on a farm?
Right,
I mean, when I read that, it's stuff that's produced on the farm.
right, but
I mean,
that could be anything, for like a culinary practice, a restaurant,
Yeah, I mean, I was on the Senate Agriculture Committee when we tried to do this, and we tried to exempt those from Act 250. I mean, the state did at the time, didn't want, because if a farm wants to make its own food and grow its own food and open a restaurant to sell its own food, and over 50%, it didn't pass the state at the time. It was a timing thing with COVID. So I think to the point is, a lot of, across the state of Vermont, people are okay with farms selling what they produce if they turn it into apple pie. And you know, it'd be like an apple orchard making apple pie.
okay, so we've had or go ahead, Nick.
I imagine a food stand would qualify as well, right?
Well, I mean, another way to solve this problem is put an AOFB as a use in the district. Then all the other,
It's a use in any
framework
district.
works. It comes into play.
But,
I'm just saying,
why,
with this all isolated by itself, I don't think there's anything that's gonna trigger the process.
I look at it, it says the bylaws shall have no effect of prohibiting it. So it's gonna be allowed.
It's good, I'm not looking for disallowance, I'm looking for, make sure that it doesn't cause, problems, noise, smoke, fumes, whatever the problems might.
Okay, I guess I'll leave it up to the board if it's something we wanna push tonight, cause I'm not sure if we put shall in there, it's gonna change much, because it's that 24 VSA 4416 that says what we can or can't look at, right? I mean, you read it, but it was very short, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was it?
4413 is longer, it's about things you can't regulate, like you can't regulate public schools, you can't regulate like churches, certain things that for the public good, hospitals, your bylaws can't stop a hospital from coming into your community if they want to come, certain things like that that are just for the public good. And agriculture, they've slid into that. Some agricultural pieces.
Imagine the goal of it was not to overburden farms with regulations, so they can build easier, make more money.
Maybe if they need to put a new work pit in, no town would want to work pit.
Yes,
Thing is, you kind of need one.
Yeah.
That's probably what the state was thinking at the time.
Okay, well, that's my last comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then I'll leave it up to the board members, whether they would act on any of those tonight as far as the approval, or we say,
I actually had a comment as a member of the public.
oh yeah, we're not done with public comment.
Yeah, but I'm there, so in the, Amy brought it up, I didn't know about it. There's a part in there that says for accessory on-farm stores, I think it was, you can only sell local products, which is defined as Franklin or Grand Isle County. Is there a way we could maybe broaden that to the state of Vermont? I mean, we're not a very big state. You're selling local Vermont-made products. I would think that would be acceptable.
Yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great,
Yeah.
that's like saying, if you have a farm stand, technically you can't sell cat and cheese.
Right.
Even though that's like a Vermont famous brand.
I would almost argue that maybe we go to a radius.
I thought,
Where my brain goes is, there's a lot of Amish, traction, in northern New York now that's getting much more, getting a little closer and closer. I don't know, but yeah, I kind of agree with Oliver. Yeah, 100 miles, or maybe it's 150 radius.
Why don't you take that as an action item? I doubt we're gonna have too many
There we go.
requests between now and let's say January 1st. Cause it's gonna take a while. You start in September, it's gonna be 3 months, 4 months, but
And that's a section we didn't touch from the previous draft. That was
yeah, take that as an action item, cause and maybe you put a percentage on it. So you don't 100% sell stuff that came from Maine.
yeah,
That's another way for you to look. You folks kick that around and come back to us with the recommendation.
Don't let us forget Oliver.
Yeah. Or you could do the state of Vermont and a radius as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you guys take a look at that. Other public comment?
Don't forget the Eastern Township.
Okay. Board members?
No, that's good, I think, take a look at it. Normal review period.
Nicole?
No, I'm all set.
I agree with you on the words may and shall. They mean a lot as far as what they allow you to do or not do. So again, those are a couple thoughts that could be looked at further.
I know we had a long discussion about the one may and shall.
Yeah.
Because like around the sections, we felt at times that the DRB was looking for ways, they were commenting on things they didn't feel like they needed to.
Because it said shall.
And so we tried to give them, allow them to still have the authority to do it if they wanted, or a neighbor raised a concern, but not require it if it was turning a single family home into a duplex or a 3-unit or a 4-unit or something like that, because that's, most of this discussion was around housing, you know, in this rewrite, so I'm not saying it didn't, there aren't other things to come to light because of it, but most everything we kind of discussed around new housing laws and.
It's a tough job. I mean, by force of circumstance, I've really had to read through the bylaws. It's really a masterpiece. This is really a fine piece of work. You don't want to screw it up. I mean, it's all about keeping people working and playing together in harmony, and you don't want to screw it up.
It's all good till you wanna do something in there and says you can't, then all of a sudden. As being on the development review board, most people didn't come in happy, or especially the zoning board of adjustment when they had it
Well, it's
there.
kind of like when the lot sizes you said would be 200 by 200, you're like, perfect square acre, you're like, how many times you can find a perfectly square acre?
Yeah.
You know,
Never.
just things
Yeah.
never turn out perfect.
All right, so our next action is to vote on the adoption of the amendments. I'll entertain a motion to approve the changes to the land use and zoning regulations. And what's the date on it? Well, it'd be effective today, never mind. It'd be effective 1 July.
So are we voting on the whole package for approval or just the
Yes.
amendments?
Do you wanna do?
It says amendments, but to me, it's voting on the whole thing because this is the second meeting. Yeah,
Do you wanna vote on the fees with it or separately?
we'll do the fees separately.
Yeah.
It's a separate line item. It won't take us long. We'll just do the public hearing and then we're gonna move on.
We'll, I'll
So
make a-
let me reword that, Earl. I'll entertain a motion to approve the Swanton Land Use and Development Regulations and Swanton zoning map as changed from our previous meeting and presented here tonight.
Okay, I made that motion.
Entertain a second.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? So moved.
Good
Thank you,
job.
everybody.
Really
Thank
good
you for all
job.
your hard work.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on business is review of the road takeover policy.
Joel, you wanna officially end it?
Okay,
6:51?
yeah, at 6:51, we are exiting the public hearing and moving on to the other items of business tonight. Item 5, Highway Department review of the road takeover policy on page 6. And I think that's pretty straightforward. If everyone's good with it, I'd make the changes and bring it back to you. I do like the idea that there were only 2 issues they commented on, and the second one was getting that basically permanent. Oh, I'll get the right legal term here. Give me just a second. Irrevocable offer of dedication. So that basically starts the process, but it gives us time to work it.
And doesn't commit us.
No, you're right, it doesn't. It's just they're saying we will,
Yeah,
but it gives us time to work it.
because, my concern when I looked at this is, you know, this idea of basically agreeing to maintain roads without taking them over has created some liability issues, according to what he's saying here. Yeah, so I don't know how, if we still need to address that stormwater issue as far as, taking over the road, our policy is concerned.
I think we need to just stay with, we're not gonna take it over unless we have the 50-foot right of way.
Yeah.
The stormwater permit's a separate issue to be worked, but as far as taking the road over, if it's a development that's been around for years and all the property line goes to the middle of the road, then we can't take the road over. It's not property we take over, so
Well, I understand that, but what about if it's being designed for the town to take over, so there's no property coming to the middle of the road? There's a 50-foot right of way, everything's there to take the road over, and they have their permits all done. But these permits have to be taken care of. And are we gonna accept the responsibility?
no, I think what we need to make clear and stated in here is the stormwater permit remains with the homeowners association, and if the state doesn't allow that, then we don't take it over.
But the state does allow that, to have the homeowner association be responsible for it.
We have not tested it on the road itself. That they take over, the homeowners take over for their section.
Yeah.
But if we were to take over the road and leave, and we haven't had the conversation with the state, and we don't know for sure, but that would be one of the requirements, and we make sure it's very clear in here that we get a letter from the state that the permit for the stormwater on that roadway is a responsibility of the homeowners.
I think it's gonna be some kind of wording in there so that when those developers are selling them lots, and we've already signed this other, however you explain, I'm not gonna try to repeat it, that permit responsibility goes with the homeowners association. Unless it's gonna be done, if they don't maintain it and the town has to maintain it, then them homeowners are gonna be responsible for the cost of the town having to update the stormwater permit.
We need to make it say the permit and the responsibility stays with the homeowners.
Yep, make it clear right from the beginning.
Well, right now.
Then the state would go back out to them if it wasn't being accomplished.
Are they doing that? How come we budgeted $30,000 there?
That's for our own stormwater.
Because it's our storm. I see, they look at the development, and if there's a already town-owned road in that development, okay, so our portion is the road.
So is them stormwater permits gonna cost that much every time?
Yes, if not.
Yes, if not.
And part of it is the engineering fees to try to figure out the whole renewal process and get them separated. That's
Right now,
why,
that's the expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is that generated because it wasn't taken care of, the permit wasn't reapplied for in a certain amount of time?
Well, on the ones we do, we've historically had them looked at and done our permitting, but now they want the whole thing more engineered, more in depth.
So if you had a development 25 years ago that we had taken over, okay, and it was operating under this general permit.
Okay, all right.
Those went out the window, and everybody has to comply with the new permit.
Okay, so the state is making the towns responsible for that on older developments, but I'm talking about new developments.
Well, new developments, yeah, that's where the homeowners association will come in. The state is saying that, you have to have a homeowners association, et cetera. The town, if we ever took over the road, would still be responsible for the road. The homeowners association would be responsible for the impervious surfaces of the driveways.
Okay, I understand that, so
Okay.
I'll go back.
There's a court challenge that the state cannot, the argument is the state cannot require anybody to join a homeowners association because it's a violation of the constitutional rights of association.
Understand there's a lot of things going on, but.
That is what the holdup on everything is right now.
So if we take new developments over,
Yeah,
we're gonna be responsible for that permit, and that permit is gonna cost that kind of money every time we renew it?
It can, yes,
can.
and it's
No,
only gonna go.
I'm saying we don't take it over.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
If you
We're not-
had to do that,
We could
then you have to do a
millions.
stormwater utility. That's where
We
everybody
don't,
has to pay $50. In St. Albans Town, it's $50 a year. Every homeowner pays $50 a year, whether they're in a development or not. Okay, $50 a year, it goes to the stormwater utility. But I don't know, that, hopefully you don't have to do that.
and that's why it's at the first paragraph, it's at our discretion. If they can't separate, if they can't maintain the overall permit, which includes the ditches of the road and where it runs to, if the homeowners can't maintain that, the state says they can't, then we're not gonna take the road over.
Right.
We get a letter from the state, that's what we require them to give us, so we can have that right in here. We don't get it, we don't take it over. I'll give you an example, Maple Grove. They came in and talked to us and showed us all the tax reasons why we should take it over. I got the Corins last Friday,
That's what I've heard.
not even close to 18 inches in places. We're not gonna take the road over.
Yeah.
We protected
What
ourselves.
happens subsequent to our taking the road over, and the HOA maintains the responsibility for the permits? what happens if they fail on those responsibilities? Do we have any liability then?
That's why to me, if it's a permit with
Unless
the
it's properly
state,
worded.
if it's permitted with the state, and the state says it's okay for them to maintain it, the state goes after them, not us. Or the state's gonna say you can't do it, and then we don't take the roads over.
I realize that.
Yeah.
I'm talking subsequent.
That's what I mean, subsequent would be if the state sent us a note saying it's okay for them to have that permit, then they go after the signature on the permit, which wouldn't be us.
Does that mean we would stop maintaining the roads?
No, it's just a stormwater permit piece of it, yeah, I mean, that's, and
I
I'm,
would have to pay a fee for the stormwater, for our impervious surface, whereas the square footage of the road. We have to pay,
that's what I'm saying, we don't even do that unless it's,
if you own the road, you have to.
that's why I'm saying is, we get a letter, if the state won't let them carry that part of the permit, that's already done,
Oh,
cause those are already done, those permits are done.
yeah.
And if the state won't let that stay that way, we don't take over the road. So it may mean we're not gonna be taking over many roads, you know?
So,
To me, if you're a developer, you develop the road and you have a separate permit for that stormwater on that road, which there should be a separate permit that they handle until we take it over, then it's clean. But these aren't clean right now because it's the whole area.
But eventually, the developments that we have taken over the road and the storage.
That's different, that's the
yeah.
3 acre rule that's getting cleaned up right now, that's a mess. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Those we're gonna have,
Have to-
cause those are ones, yes.
Yeah.
so in the policy we adopted December 3rd, 24, that stormwater permit, we're gonna change that wording?
Yes.
Okay,
Gonna change, absolutely. Yep.
all right, so we don't have that changed wording here tonight, do we?
No, we just got, well, we got it a couple weeks ago, and I told Brian, just bring it up here tonight, and
Yeah. Okay.
I'll suggest some wording. You guys can,
I think we better forget about signing a lease or something to maintain the road. Doesn't seem like a very good option.
we won't,
No.
we're gonna say, I think I'll even add something that we won't, it'll only be roads that we have deed to.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty
like
that's pretty clear from
that, you know.
the review that we got is.
And then if you're gonna add the language in there that if the state doesn't agree to let the homeowner association be responsible for the maintenance, we're not gonna take the road over.
Right, of the stormwater permit.
Yeah,
And we're
sir.
not, then we won't take over, absolutely.
Okay,
That's,
all right, I'm comfortable with that.
yeah,
Yep, okay.
So you're gonna redraft this?
redraft that, and yes. Yeah, I just wanted to get the discussion going tonight and then we redraft that. So I told you about Maple Grove Estates, and I think we're gonna find out with a lot of these roads, you know, that people tell you, oh, it was all done according A76 standards, cause that's what the DRB said to do. Well, unless someone's out on site holding them responsible. Center of the road was pretty good, but told them to give us so many samples from 2 feet from the edge of the road. And, not so good. Old Town
So
business.
you're gonna notify them that their road base doesn't qualify for the town, meet the town standards, so we're not gonna.
Their engineer should be giving them that info, and if
Well,
they
so-
come to us, then I'll talk to them, but I don't,
Their engineer's aware of it then.
he's the one who took the samples.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one who took the samples, and
He's got our town standards there, so it shouldn't be a
oh,
problem.
he's the one that said doesn't meet it.
Yeah,
He
okay.
said doesn't meet your road takeover policy, so
All right.
I don't even wanna get in the conversation unless we need to, and that would be them coming to us, but they don't meet it.
They came to us would it just be you telling them that they don't meet the standard or?
I mean, they could come to the board and talk to the board. The bottom line is you wanna dig up your asphalt and redo it the way it's supposed to be? The answer's gonna be no, cause it's gonna be thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's your road to plow in the winter.
Yeah, there we go.
There are a lot of private roads right now in Swanton. Okay, Maple Grove Estates, told you about that. Old Town Business, update on the LVRT. Anybody who's driven by, not much has changed other than a little fencing put up last week, on the 19th. They have submitted now what we need to get this moving forward if it gets approved. So they've submitted, plans, structural plans for the pavilion, structural plans for the foundations. That was forwarded, yesterday to VHB to review. It's a lot closer to what we should get, so with any good luck in the next week and a half, foundations will start going in there and this thing will start moving ahead again. If the engineering firm has too many questions, then it'll go back for cleanup, but now I'm feeling like we're getting to where things are gonna happen, so.
You have some additional costs come in here, adjustment from, what, is that an engineer?
This is from the engineering firm. It's a total of $10,000, of which $2,000 would come out of the money that we've got, and the rest of it comes out of the 80% with the state. I'm comfortable with this. It's not many hours, but the hours add up a lot when engineers, usually the overhead profit's about 125% of what the actual labor rate is. So when you add up 63 hours.
Is this additional work they didn't plan on, or is this part of the package?
This was additional work in terms of advertising the second time and then reviewing more of these submittals that are getting kicked back.
Pricey.
Yeah, they only had 22 hours listed for the construction services. One site trip up here could be 6 hours out of those 22, and then you review those structural drawings. That takes a while. So, you know, in terms of, I have approval of a certain spending limit, but because this is technically over that, even though the percentage coming out of the town, I would like to get a motion from the board if they're comfortable with this or not. I know it's a lot of money, but it's.
We have that money set aside.
Yes, we do.
Is there enough to cover it?
Oh, yeah.
Cause we only put 90 or up to, did we increase it up to 120?
129.
129?
Yeah. Yeah, we got the money because we also have a balance from what we signed the contract for, and on most construction contracts, you can expect an increase, and we've got money to cover that as well. When we went back with the second design at the finish of the project, when we went back with that number they gave us, the state matched the additional. Then the bids came in less than that.
I'll make a motion that we approve this additional expenditure for the LVT, for the amount of, what you got on it? $10,669.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded.
And I just wanna add to that the money will come out of the funds that been set aside. In the special funds now, right? You call it, okay.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Just a quick comment, I've had a very nice gentleman last Saturday or Sunday morning, he was from Norfolk, Massachusetts. And he came up here to do the trail to St. John's going back, very nice guy. And he was trying to find a place to park, and I told him that where he could park someday wasn't completed. But he was, so he stayed over in the public parking lot of the village office. He said, you have no idea how valuable this trail is to people like me that likes to ride long distances. Really nice fellow, and he's about two towns over where our son lives.
Yeah.
He was quite pleased, and he's not the only one that's been on there.
It's bringing people from all over the world.
Absolutely. I think there was a group ride. I'm trying to think, just recently, a good number of folks.
I saw all kinds of bikers and vans hauling them around down in the park, and I'm hoping that's
Yeah,
where
this is going to be a valuable asset to us.
I can't wait till we have a ribbon cutting ceremony and the
Yep.
right people there and this, yeah.
Good.
Anything else? On to the Adoption of amendments to the purchasing policy.
Okay, I included in the packet and I sent it to you as the borrowing authority was added, inadvertently left out. And which can be found on page 2, it's the second paragraph down. And everything else remains the same as was in, when you first received it, with the other changes, so.
Just help me with one thing, how often are we gonna review this? Is it every 2 years or every year?
Well, as needed every year, or every 2 years, or as needed, if brought up by the.
Yeah, because we have as we sit around this table and think about it, we have a good number of policies that are in place. And someday we should have a list of every policy that we have in place, and then a plan to at least discuss reviewing them or passing on them. We should catalog these somewhere. They're all quite important.
Yes, and you know how, one way to do that is we set up a 2-year calendar.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that would include our budget in October, November, December as we lead up to the new fiscal year. But we take our, let's say we had 10 policies, we sprinkle those throughout the 2-year calendar.
Yep.
But that's, to me, something should almost be right here on the table,
Absolutely.
that we'd say, okay, next month is August or July, well, let's say August, and let's see, we're gonna review this and that, and then we put it on the minutes, or we say, we don't need to make any changes to it, and we
But
move
at least,
on.
even taking no action is action.
Right, but,
So, I mean, you think of one policy hadn't been reviewed in 15 years, and we just got that thing reviewed. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but if we have it come up to our eyeballs annually, we're gonna start cataloging all these policies and put them in order, so
Yeah,
that's
I'd-
something to work on.
yeah, I'd like to see a 2-year calendar that we use as our guide.
Sure, 2, 3, some of them might be 3, some might be quite dormant, and we just decide not to act on them, but at least they'd be cataloged somewhere.
Yeah,
Well, I'll make the motion that we adopt the amendment for the purchasing policy and the purchasing policy as written with that amendment. I guess that's the way to do it.
well, it's actually the purchasing policy.
Yeah.
That changes in it.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye. Aye.
Alright.
Opposed? So moved. Next item, Brian.
Okay, the whistleblower protection policy that we brought up the last time, the last meeting, there was a question as to what they use the word, protected employee means. What does it mean? Basically, it means an individual employed on a permanent or limited status basis by the municipality, so it's every employee.
Limited is part-time.
Yeah. And that's what it means. So you don't need any signatures, but if you just want to adopt this, we just put it on the website, put the world on notice, we have this to protect our whistleblowers. And we've never, to the best of my knowledge, never had a whistleblower here.
I'll make a motion to adopt the whistleblower protections.
Here's a second.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? The only discussion I have, can we get the fonts and everything, the wording, so it all matches? It's just kind of typed in at the bottom.
Yeah, well, this is a PDF document, so.
Oh, this is?
It's
Yeah.
impossible, but we'll work.
You'll clean it up.
Yeah, we can clean it up.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Alright.
Opposed? So moved. Update on former town garage property.
Okay. I received word last week from Alex Gagne, who is the engineer that was doing the work on the garage property, that the report that was sent, which I thought was the final report, was only the draft report. And the final report won't be here for about another week now. It should be coming, but with the holiday, it'll be a little tough. And then that's what the state is looking to look at. So the state hasn't really seen it yet. So when the state gets it, and he has no way of knowing how long it'll take, depends how busy they are. And he's leaving the firm, he's moving out to the state of Washington, but somebody else in the firm will be taking over the work on that project. So that's the status at this time. If I look back today, looking on another matter, went way back into the emails, and this has been going on before my time here.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
It is, it's terrible. But that's the process we have to go
Yeah.
through. Library repairs, Nick, you had a question?
Yeah, I was reading through the library minutes and they were doing a final weatherization test of the library, as it said on June 26th.
Last Thursday.
Yeah, last Thursday. Just wondering how it went and how, if that, we're gonna get you think it's looking good for the grant from Vermont Gas?
I have not heard the reports yet. I don't think Class has received the report yet on the test. But I forwarded him copies of all the invoices so that he can get the stuff going to Vermont Gas. And so we should be hearing something shortly.
We should have something to report next meeting then.
I would hope so.
As far as what the
Yeah.
results from the test were.
Right.
And
Yeah.
how much money that, I don't know, maybe Vermont Gas won't give you an answer that quick, but maybe they will, eh?
I would think so. They have better leverage than making decisions sometimes than the state. And it's just about a hair under $89,000 what the whole project came to. So we should know something. And I'll check with Laz again to see if he's heard anything yet.
So you said the total was,
About 89,000.
and we had a little more than that?
Yeah, we had, actually,
Did that include last?
I believe so.
Okay.
Is he even
Did it
send us a
include-
bill?
He did, yeah.
I'd have to look and see how it is if you want me to.
Does that include Menard too?
Yeah, it was everybody. What came in under was
Wonder what
actually,
he was saying, yeah, because it was
was
over.
actually Alliance was considerably less than originally.
Which is good, cause they had those other lines they had to
That's
move,
right.
but I'd like to see just, as part of the special funds, we had a certain amount set aside. I'd just like to see the breakdown of what we spent on that project, just for an awareness thing. We don't need it right
No, I
now.
don't need it. We will send it.
And then,
You can send it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah.
alright,
Yeah,
so that'd be very good if we can get some money out of
Something to
that.
consider if maybe we start a capital reserve and put that excess money, the money that we didn't spend in that reserve for future things, you know?
We can, we talked about, and pretty soon we ought to have another discussion on special funds. There was a balance there, and we talked about some of that being, for
So, yeah, we
capital.
have a special reserve fund now for building maintenance.
Right, and we
started 2
could,
years
and
ago.
we could put
Yeah.
some of that
We
toward it,
could
yeah.
put some of that
Yeah.
money that's left over in there to keep that fund, build that fund up.
Well, the more we build it up, the better. All you gotta do is cross that bridge and
Yeah.
see the rust going on, and that's gonna be a
That's
big,
major-
Yeah.
big cost. Alright, Newtown business, proposed changes to the zoning fees, which we discussed. Ooh, go ahead.
Right. The only difference of this one and the one I gave you last month, was, Amy added use permit. That was not on the list, and she was charging it as a building permit. And in comparison with other towns, we added that.
And these rates are probably similar, you must have been looking at other towns
So
too.
what I did was I printed all of the towns around us, and we looked at them and looked at this,
Yeah.
and came up with those prices.
And I know people might, nobody likes an increase in fees, but there's actually a lot of things in the changes in there are people aren't gonna have to do as much fee paying. Cause the zoning administrator is gonna be able to do a lot more, so they don't have, we're gonna need the extra income just to stay where we are now, and it does not cover the cost, does it?
This doesn't cover her costs.
No.
No,
No.
100%.
No.
So if
I
you
think-
want to approve these, and then I need to know when you want them to be effective. Do you wanna give it 30, 60, 90, first of the year, when do you wanna start collecting the increased fees?
Will this exempt anything that's in play now?
So anything in play now is being charged at the old rates.
Grandfather.
The rates, yeah.
Well, we should have I'm expecting we'd have a cutoff date anything that's in play as of this date would not fall under these new fees, something like that.
Yeah, why don't we make them effective 1 August?
Yeah, and if any new applications after the first of August.
Because that's
yeah.
when the check comes in, is
yeah.
when they apply with their new.
That's good. That
Anybody
would
that applies
be-
August first and after the pay.
Yeah.
That'll give you time to type this up, because we can't find it in a Word, and to create a new draft.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Village, town, school.
Municipal and town, school, et cetera, permit fees.
You can-
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Brian has mentioned it, and I don't know if you folks agree, but I think the municipalities and the schools should be exempt from the fees, not the zoning, but exempt from the fees, so. I mean, you're pretty much just pushing the money
Going from one way.
one to the other.
Yeah, doesn't really make a lot of sense. does
And
it?
and it's not gonna be that big dollar amount either.
No, and,
That could just be a note added to the bottom of this.
Yeah,
we got somewhat of our hands slapped by the state, but they didn't ask for their money back. But
$6,000 on it.
the permit fees for the V-Trans facility. While Amy was out, she had charged them, and while they were out, they cited the fact that it's not mentioned, since we're a political entity of the state and serve at the state pleasure, the state never gave municipalities permission to charge the state for anything. So they don't have to pay anything. They didn't ask for the money back, they said that. But, so that,
well, it's good they didn't ask for the money back.
they didn't, surprisingly, but
So you want it to
any
be
case.
town, village,
And school.
and
I don't, the state, we don't need that put in there, cause it's
No,
by statute.
By statute.
Yeah. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to,
So moved.
I'll second.
motion been made and second to approve the Swanton zoning and planning fee schedule with a note on the exemptions.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Well, then it should add to all new applications after August 1st. And with the exclusions
Of the
discussed,
school,
yes, discussed,
town,
yeah.
and village.
Any other discussion? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Just a quick question, have we had any discussion with the state on the pilot paying of taxes?
Not yet, I'm waiting I gotta get information from the list.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's still working its way through.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the road itself, I know we had a discussion about Cummins property and all this,
The
so, yeah.
state is working, I gotta remind that guy, I spoke with, he's gonna start the process on the state level to assign the easement to the town.
And that's gonna make them still responsible for maintaining the road.
Yes, I understand it will be a class 4 town road, but
And
they'll
it
take care of it.
are we gonna add in that, that we're gonna allow that extension? And those people are gonna have the right to use that road even though they're maintaining it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that'll be
They
it.
were good with that.
Okay,
because
all right,
They expect it to happen.
okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, just as long as everything's in writing.
Yeah.
Susie, you're up next. Request, for contribution to the Swanton Block Party, page 23.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was like, how many people sit at the table? Pretty sure everybody has them. Okay, so, I'm requesting $430 from the Community Celebration Fund to support 2 bouncy houses. One is an obstacle course like we had last year, that's SEP funded for us. And the other is just a traditional bouncy house. We figured it'll give the kids, more, opportunities in the park. And we had a good turnout last year, so we're hoping for a good turnout this year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Is there any discussion?
My only comment is, maybe this should be an annual event, it's gonna continue to be an annual event.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just put that in our what do you call them things when we do our budget, you know, they,
We do
other
have a
people.
line
It-
item
it
in
is-
the
it's-
budget already.
For
Yeah,
this?
It's for the community celebration, I'm just asking to take the money out of that fund.
Yeah.
Oh,
to put
okay.
it towards a
Oh,
bouncy house.
you're not even
So there was
asking for
like-
new money.
No, there's like five,
My question's gonna
5,000 in
be,
there, and I don't need all of it, I just want a little bit of it.
okay. Motion's been seconded, we've had discussion, any further discussion?
The only thing I would add to that motion, that it comes out of that line item. Okay.
Which is what it, I mean,
Yeah.
it says community celebration fund. Okay, any, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
And publicly, while you're here, I just wanna say thank you for those hometown banners.
Oh,
I know I
They look really
spoke to
good.
you separately, but the effort that you put into all that, very
you.
nice.
I am now working on a little booklet on all of the veterans, and then later in August, I'm gonna do tours.
Very nice. And I'd spoken to you about one, and
Yes, we're gonna get that fixed.
we're gonna get that fixed.
Yeah,
I've
there's
got a
actually
funding
couple more
source and
that
everything,
Probably
but,
need to be fixed too.
oh no, I'm talking about a new one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
for the
that
other
one,
one,
yes.
And I hate to do this, cause it's gonna go right to your head. But you're also in charge of the beautification committee.
Yes,
And the flowers are just,
It looks
Thank
nice in
you.
there.
yeah, very, I mean, I went to a few communities, I had to do some traveling here the last couple of weeks, and, you know, those flowers make this place look so much different.
thank you.
So much different.
Yeah,
you know?
next year I wanna start dedicating some of the gardens to different people, you know, get little plaques or little like
Yeah.
yard things to put in.
It really makes a big
I think
difference,
so,
a big
I think
difference.
so, so,
Thank you.
thank you, no, I appreciate it, thank you for your time.
Don't let it go to your head.
I won't, I promise.
Thank
All right.
you, Susie.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night, Miss Fields.
Appointment of a new member to the DRB, page 25. As we discussed, Spencer interviewed a candidate for the DRB, and he wants us to go ahead and approve. And the name is Kirsten Bourgeois.
Well, if they recommend it, I'm willing to go with it for sure, so I make a motion that we have Kirsten Bourgeois join our DRB board.
And I'll second that.
Motion been made and second to appoint Kirsten to the DRB. Any discussion? The only thing I will say is I work with her on the Swan Enhancement Project as well, and she does a great job. I think she's gonna be a great member of the DRB and helping out in our community. Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain? Obviously.
Okay. Planning Commission vacancy.
We're gonna have,
So that is just, I just wanted to put it out again so that you all know we are down to 3. Jim has resigned as we knew, and Andy, his appointment was up yesterday and he's not seeking anymore. So I told Ross and Oliver I would strongly advise they find somebody to interview and move the process along when they start, because it's gonna be very difficult to have a quorum.
Have you got any names that ever came in at all? None at all.
No. So I don't want them to plan these meetings and have no quorum, because it's really frustrating.
One thing to consider is, do we drop the number of planning commissioners to 3?
Then you only need 2.
Then you only need 2.
It's up to you.
Maybe we could do that on a temporary basis until we fill the position so they could continue to conduct their business.
I would go with that more than doing it permanently,
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
But spread the word to anybody and spread the word.
Yes,
If anybody
yes,
wants to do it, send their names in and then they can interview them and let you guys know if that's what
I
they
don't-
choose.
No, can we actually do that without some kind of public warning?
I'd
Change,
have to look into that.
Yeah, why don't we look into
Yeah,
it
look
right
into
now? The thing is to try to get
Yeah,
up to
try to
5,
get-
but
yeah.
let's look at some ways to help out. At
Yeah.
least, if 2 people show up, they can have a meeting and get something done.
Good thing they got the heavy work out of the way.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, next item, development rights.
Yeah, I just want to get a feel from the board. You know, I've spoken out often about our loss of opportunity because of the development rights that have been taken. And I understand the process, it was flawed, the legislation as we see it today was flawed right from the beginning. I think it has been useful. I think handled properly, it can be useful. But just for discussion, Swanton, I think, has 23,300 acres. 52%, more than 11,000 of those acres now cannot be developed.
Does that include the refuge and all?
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
so it's not all actually ag
Yeah.
land.
And it's, whether it includes them or not, it's a good point, Earl.
Yeah, because some of that land would never be developable
That's right,
anyway.
that's right.
You know,
But some could be.
yeah,
Now, if a 1% would be 230 acres. And I think we were told the last time this came up that about 52% now was that we can't do anything with it. In listening to Corey one night, he mentioned that other towns had spoken to the owners of this process and asked that their community kind of be put one side for a while so they could absorb what's taken place. And what I'd like to see is a really full analysis of what we have left in Swanton. Now, recently, another farm just sold their development rights, and I think it was 237 acres. That just brought us up another percentage of total property conserved. It's good property, but it's good farmland, it could be tremendous land for development, but it's gone. When this first came out, many, many years ago, they asked for public comment, and I think there was a lot of public comment that said this should have an expiration date. So that if you conserved your lands at the end of the 20-year period, for example, it could come back up or purchased by other organizations. My question tonight, is the board willing to entertain a meeting with the powers to be so that they could give us a complete analysis of what is left, or what's been conserved in Swanton? And then we can try to deduct what's left. And maybe we get moved to one side for a while, because we really don't have much property left to be developed. We're strangled. It's okay, and I understand conserving this land, but we're foreclosing out our future of our young people. It's causing the properties left to become more expensive. Building lots are few and far between. We have some pretty good ones that I've seen from the minutes that have been approved. The board works very hard to find a way to approve these requests, which I think is impressive. But I think it's time for us to take a breather.
When you say speak to the powers to be, who are we talking about?
Whoever is, I don't understand the structure of this, Joel. I should have spent more time on it. Somebody up there is the chairman of the board that obtained.
Vermont Land Trust.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
But before the Vermont Land Trust, don't we have the info here to color a map of the lands that are in land trust?
On their website.
Yeah, so I mean, we can get that piece of it
That's fine,
as a starter.
yep.
It's an interesting concept because part of me, when you ask this and just hearing it now, I haven't gone through all the iterations, so what I'm saying now could certainly change some, but I also, 50% of it saved for farmland. I'm not sure I have a real problem with that because I benefit from the farm and farms, and I'm gonna, continue, and we all need farms to produce the stuff that keeps us going. And I understand the thing about development. Even if we had land to develop to try to get more of an industrial base here, could we get the industrial base here?
Oh, I don't, industrial base, I agree, that's way over here now.
And if it's just housing, I don't know.
What do you wanna use the information for, like protest, bring it up to the legislators,
Maybe. I
try to
think,
get Act 250 reforms?
don't know. I think we have to start the discussion. We may not have the time to spend on it, but I think it would be a good public education process if we did have this discussion, but it's up to the board. If you don't want to invite some folks here to talk to us about it, that's fine. I'm not saying to do away with the project or the program. Somewhere it's gonna be modified, we know that. There are many benefits to whoever sells these rights, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous benefits. And there are benefits leading up to the sale that go on for years and years and years and years. All that's for another discussion. So anyway, I'd like to see us, we're trying to grow our population, we're trying to bring in young people. And we're saying, oh, come to Swan, yo, but you can't build anywhere. Okay, or major opportunities to build have been purchased.
I think there's different incentives out there with what they're trying to do with accessory dwellings and whatnot that
Yep.
that are going to help benefit young people moving here.
Oh, maybe,
Yeah, because it
hopefully.
has to be affordable, that's one of the big issues.
Yeah, and I think, aren't ADUs more for folks that are having, for the elderly or for
No,
someone that
it's
needs?
for everybody.
It's for everybody, okay. All right. Anyway, that's my pitch. You've heard me talk about this before, and I would like us to at least memorialize this discussion so we can say, yeah, we did take a look at it and go from there.
Let's start with the map. I think at one of our meetings, and then a little bit more of detail if we can find out about. Is it forever? Is it 100 years? I don't even know.
It's perpetuity,
And- Okay.
perpetuity,
Yeah.
forever.
NRPC.
Yeah, so I think we take a look at the map and
There's restrictions to, based on where the money came from.
Yeah, that's true. Some of the money comes from different
If
sources.
it comes from private foundations, extremely difficult from what I understand. You probably never see anything happen. Maybe you will. I don't have I think it'd be nice to sit down and talk with the land trust people, because it's one key piece of property, if you really wanna, that has potential to be developed. A lot of this property ain't gonna be developed the way you think it is anyway.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The former we met in Bigelow Fire,
Good example.
it would make sense to have a discussion with them to see, what options are there.
Yeah.
what is the goal of the land trust organization now? If we bring them in here, talk to them, their goal is to get that.
Every square foot of Vermont. I sat with a
Well,
guy.
that's what I mean. So what are we gonna gain by bringing them in here?
I don't know, but I think
Well,
what are we gonna gain? I think we're gonna bring this up from the table up here.
yeah.
That we need to discuss this. And they may tell us to take a hike, that's fine. But we might learn something and we might benefit from it. Give me an
Okay.
example. They're trying to find a place for field days.
And,
Out here in Middleton County, what great places to have field days.
but they might find creative ways to work with us.
Yep.
Because they don't really wanna alienate communities.
Yep.
That's not their goal, Steve. I can
And
tell
my
you
other
that.
point, this new program, CHIP,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's similar to the TIF.
Yeah.
What if we had an opportunity to utilize that program on a parcel of land that isn't yet conserved? And that would certainly help us, because that brings infrastructure to an area that might be converted to housing or something. So that's my point.
Okay, no, I think it's valid to bring up and have, them come if that's, the board is total wants to. Getting our knowledge base improved and then decide and.
At least it keeps our awareness level up
Yeah.
of what's going on. Okay, thank you.
And it
No,
makes them aware that we're here and there are concerns, even though I'm sure they are, but just nobody says anything, they'll think everybody's happy, so. There may be some things, you never know, it's worth having a discussion.
So would you reach out to them?
Yeah, it's the Housing Conservation Board
Yeah.
that oversees it all.
Yeah.
I think a percentage of the Vermont property transfer tax
Yes.
goes into this fund.
Yeah.
So every house sold
Yeah.
will be but some of that money goes into that fund.
Okay.
It seems kind of ironic, you know, you buy a house, you build a house. And
We're gonna help limit you
We're
being.
gonna take some land away from the future, so anyway. That's
No,
my- that's my
it's
spiel.
valid discussion, Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Community and Economic Development?
I would like to add on with the promotion, what we've been working, we've got, I don't know how many more businesses, you get any more coming back in, Chrissy? We're,
Yes.
you know, we're kinda doing it ourselves, so it's gonna take a little bit of
I
while.
think I sent 11, I shared 11 emails with the intern
Okay.
from businesses. And
Yeah.
some of them were for two, if they had
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
businesses, so there's been good response.
Yeah, you should be getting some more, I had a few up, yesterday.
Can you share those with us,
What?
these inquiries?
The goal is to provide a directory for the website to share with everybody.
Yeah. It's it's for updating our website.
Okay.
We're gonna have a business list.
Okay, I thought you were talking about you would be entertaining a
no,
discussion
no,
with
no,
potential
no.
candidates, okay.
No, this is what, similar to one someone brought or showed us in one meeting, right? Where you
From
could go
St.
look,
Albans, yeah.
look right down at all the,
Yeah.
No, I think
that'll be
that's
nice.
useful, sure.
But I feel a kind of a sense of urgency right now to pull up a little bit on it, to get this brochure done if we're gonna get that rail trail opened up, but I don't know, we need to do that right, so. Cause that's part of something that, we were hoping this business listing is gonna help be able to put that brochure together, The other thing on the sign issue, I had a chance here tonight to talk to Susie. We're gonna get together as a trustee and a selectman, select person, excuse me. And I think there needs to be some, like you said, there needs to be some discussion between the two boards. It's hard for the two boards to get together, but if one member and one other member can come back to the board, because I think we need to do some really good planning on this, because, you have the Swan and then, whoa. You have Swan, but then you have the village, and I don't know what kind of plans they have at the present time, but really, the village signage itself needs to be upgraded significantly. And, maybe we should be coordinating how we're doing these signs, with what they're doing. So I'd like to have that discussion with Susie before we make any final decision of what we're gonna do with our signs. And I know it's dragging the process out, but it's something we're gonna have to live with for a long time.
And these signs are for both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
that's why I wanna coordinate it.
yeah, and so and just to add to what you're saying is I contacted the sign company and we're out of office till after the 4th of July weekend, so hopefully next meeting we'll have something to look at, but
Yeah.
location and how that happens, work on it and
Yeah.
bring it
And
here. Just be aware of, state right of ways and things
Oh, yeah,
like that.
yeah,
It may
yeah.
be a great location, but we have no way to
Right,
put the
right,
sign in because
right.
anyway, okay. Anything else?
And I just wanna let everybody know that when I've been to a few of these small businesses, like Gagne Brothers up there, and then our new flower shop, and these people think this is one great idea. The younger they are, the better they think this is, and how we need to do this. And I think it's gonna make them feel a lot better about the town.
Good, that's good stuff, and to me, I almost would like, and I don't know if it's a chamber should do it, there should be one gathering a year,
Yeah.
or we all try to just socialize, so
Yeah.
you're meeting a lot of people that the rest of us aren't gonna meet unless we go out and purposely do it, but, alright.
Well, all of our businesses do love it when we do go in and introduce ourselves. That's something that I've seen hand every time we've been out.
Okay,
On economic development, we'll just talk about the option tax.
Yes.
Bill and I have spoken, and we would like to have a joint meeting, both boards, and this would be one subject definitely.
Yeah.
Discuss probably like in September, so we lay out a game plan to have a ballot item in March. But we still have the contend with the legislature, but we'll be working that.
So you don't know exactly what the law is yet, or did they pass it?
Well, the law that we want to share it didn't even get off the wall.
Oh, okay.
Because the tax department doesn't like it, then that's wrong.
Okay.
Okay, but nonetheless, but at this meeting, when we have it in September, the joint meeting, we'll have our representatives invited to discuss the situation. May even invite somebody who may be on the Health Ways and Means Committee. I believe Carolyn Brannigan of Georgia is on that. That's where that resides. So that's what we're gonna do. That's the plan for that. And you'll also notice under coming events, on our next meeting is July 15th, but on Monday the 14th, the Swanton Village Board of Trustees,
Yes.
public hearing for plans for Bridge 6. That is not a joint meeting, but they would like members, you to come, and if there's a majority, fine, we can just list it, but no town business will be just decided on. So that's starting at 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah, I'd like to go back, the local option
Yeah.
tax. I think the board should meet without any reps first.
Okay.
That's just, I'm just throwing that out here to the other board members. The legislature didn't take action. So if indeed we are looking to put it onto the March ballot, which I support, then how are they gonna help us?
We can.
Well, they still could, because they just have to work harder and get the bill passed.
Before March?
It can be done,
Heck, we didn't even get it off the wall this year.
because the.
And again, I think, okay, so then I come back to, I think we should have our discussion and then maybe bring them on board after we get the two boards in agreement with what we're trying to do. I don't know, that's just.
And the next go around here is the tax department, the tax commissioner reports to the state treasurer, but the tax commissioner is appointed by the governor. Don't have to call up the governor's office and go down and talk with him about it. I will.
Well, I thought we had a pretty clear understanding that, this wasn't gonna be done unless the village and the town can do it separately.
That's.
So we presented this idea to, Representative Walker was here that night,
And he introduced the bill.
Yeah.
The bill goes, it gets assigned to Health Ways and Means. Or, we went to Health Ways and Means, and then it's up to that chair to take that bill up. Now, it can be incorporated into another bill, but they still need to take it up. And they just let it sit on the wall because somebody got to them. That's the way it works down there. The tax department thinks it's too confusing. And I said, would somebody please explain to me, if you go into this business here, if you went into the Hannafords, which is in the village, and you're a town resident, well, you pay that, and I'll go to the village, but then I'm a village resident and I go into a business across the street from Hannaford that's in the town. Well, where is that less confusing than if you just have one tax and then it's split on a rate, on
an agreed amount.
ratio.
Yeah.
But that's the attitude down there. So
We'll keep pursuing it.
yeah. So, okay, we'll just go with.
Well, that's up to the board, that's just a thought I had, that for us to at least get the two of us to on track and then bring them in and, okay. Any other necessary business?
Just one small thing, we were, Cemetery Commission on Saturday was able to appoint Macy DuPont to one of the vacant positions, so we got one of the vacancies filled, which is good.
Good.
Can I just ask one thing? Do you want to discuss changing the first August meeting because it's National Night Out, correct?
Yeah, so I'll have to change that.
So I just want
Pick that
to
day now,
move it to August, whatever.
4th, Monday the 4th?
Oh, Monday or Wednesday.
Monday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
I would say if no one minds Wednesday, unless we think it's gonna compete with anything else.
There's no planning commission meeting at Wednesday.
What's Wednesday's date?
August
August 7th.
So do we need motion for that?
Yeah, we should.
Entertain a motion to move the August 5th meeting to August 6th.
So moved.
Here a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. All right, correspondence,
Didn't get any.
public comment, upcoming events.
Friday, July 4th, 2025 is the Independence Day holiday. Offices and operations are closed. Monday, July 14th, 2025, the Swanton Village Board of Trustees was holding a public hearing on the plans for Bridge 6 at the Village Complex at 6 p.m. Tuesday, July 15th, 2025 will be a regular select board meeting at 6 p.m. here at the town offices. Thursday, July 24th, 2025 will be a DRB meeting at 6 p.m. at the town offices. Friday, July 25th, 2025 will be the Swanton Block Party from 5:30 to 7. And then Saturday, July 26th will be the annual car show hosted by the Swanton Chamber of Commerce with a rain date of the 27th.
I heard if Adam's involved, it will not rain that day. That's just what I hear.
Until after the show.
That's right. All right, executive session for legal, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Can we just do this in your office, or do we have to?
We can,
because we shouldn't have, do we have to come back out?
we'll have to come back out
Oh,
and
okay.
need a vote.
Okay, but we can still go in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion?
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential legal information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
Here a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
I move that based on our just made findings that premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage, we now enter executive session.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Yeah,
need email. 1,188. Yeah, good.
Camera's on there, recorder's on.
What's that?
70s.
Entertain a motion to come out of the executive session at 8:01.
I'll move.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
I'll make a motion to approve $1,188.70 for body work and repairs of the vehicle.
All right, second.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? One thing I would say is this is just clarification. We had a stone from one of our mowers, Nick got pick up, and that's what we're covering. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Entertain a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so
Who
moved.
was the second? Earl?
Yeah.